Okay, people. What an exciting group. Thank you all for joining us today at our beautiful library on this gorgeous Friday morning. We've got Paul here today, and he is quite an interesting man. I'm going to give a little bit of his bio and then let him just take it away. He was born in Guinea. He has a rich knowledge of the history and culture of his homeland. He's lived in France since the early 1980s, but has maintained a loving connection with his West African roots ever since. Currently, he's lived in Reeds for about 3 years now, Reeds Landing, neighbor to Robin and Scott. And Sherry, and husband, yay, right. He operated a travel and tourism business and opened a vocational training school in Guinea using all of the wisdom from his degree in economics from the University of Montpellier in France. Paul has a passion for communications and cinematography and is hard at work on a historical documentary. Did you finish that one?
Yeah, the one is done. I'm working the one.
Yeah. Okay. His father worked at a Guinean radio station, and that's where his passion for radio comes from. Paul, you were a radio and TV host and has been featuring African culture for decades. Music Africana showcases the rich variety of music heard and performed in Africa. Salsa, reggae, coupe de calais, soukous, rumba, among others. And actually, you were, at this time of this bio, making a documentary about slave trade in Guinea and writing a book about it. And that is why we're here today, to hear about this book that he's written and learn from Paul. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Like she said, I have French accent, so I'm gonna try to talk slowly, pronounce good, and if you don't understand me, I don't mind to repeat myself because people can understand. So, like she said, I was born in Guinea. After my high school, I went to France, studied there, and so when things started, I used to work on a tourism field that people from Europe, from Switzerland to Guinea to visit places. So one day I was in one place, so that Rio Pongo, I didn't know all the story. So I came there, showed to people, and one day there is a professor, historian, he said, do you know they used to take slaves here to America? I'm like, what? From here, because the well-known place is named Gore. It's in Senegal, where they used to take slaves to America. So I said, no, they took slaves here to Gore before going to America. I said, no, from here to America directly. I'm like, okay. So when I went home, I have a friend she lives in South Carolina, Charleston. I sent her a message. I said, do you know about this story telling slaves from here? He said, Paul, you're friend of my mom on Facebook. Contact my mom, she like history. So I sent a message to her mom. Her mom sent me, it was a newspaper, one journalist talking about Rio Pongo. So when I came in, I said, that time I was in Montpellier, at Vermont. So I contacted that newspaper. Said, okay, you have a journalist here who went to Guinea and talk about slavery. Can I contact him? He said, oh, he's retired now, but leave your phone and we can meet. Okay. So I'm talking about one professor. They are broadcasting this with a Zoom at York University in Toronto. So that's why I have was computer, and there was one live on Facebook. So that's why I had to stop and talk to them. So when I went there, they said, no, you can't get in. I'm like, do I go? I said, okay, can I talk to your director? So they called the director, I said, yeah, I came from Guinea, and I just want to know how they work. He said, oh, okay, hold on. So people were lining, putting cell phone before I get in. So when I was waiting, he made a phone call, and after he came, okay, come here, give me the phone. It was a lady in the city hall. And I introduced myself. He said, we don't do that, but exceptionally for you, you can get in, videotape everything you want, photograph everything you want. So that was the first big thing for me. I went there, took pictures. When I came, the friend who brought me said, why do you take so long? I said, they let me in. I said, I didn't want to tell you, but they don't let people get in with a cell phone. So that was the first thing. I came back to Vermont. I started reading on the internet. I said, okay, they took people here from here. So my story started putting together one by one, putting pieces together. And I saw one article talking how they took slaves, how they brought it. At the end, I was like, this guy, he knows what he's doing, what he's saying. So I saw his name, Bruce Mauser. I said, how can I contact him? So I Googled his name. I saw his cell phone, email, everything. So I called him. He was nice. He said, yeah. And Bruce Mauser, now he's dead. He's an American guy, a white guy from Indiana. So when he was student in 1966, one of his teachers told him, you know what? Do your thesis about Rio Pongo and Rio Nez. Nobody has done that. Okay, where is that? They say it's in Guinea. So they called Guinea embassy to give him a visa so he can go in the place. But the government was coming and they said, oh, maybe he's a spy. They didn't want to. But they said, don't worry. The paper you need to do your thesis, they are in Sierra Leone, another country, and in England. I will tell you why. So he went in England. They gave him a lot of boxes. In 1972, he made his thesis about Rio Pongo, Rio Nines. And after he was well-known, the specialist who knows slave trade on that places. So I said, okay, now I'm talking to you, changing. Can I come and videotape you? He said, yes. So he was in La Crosse. So after I came here, I took my cousin, we went there. I videotaped, and that I will show you the video. So he's the one helped me to put everything together. And when I put, okay, I'm gonna talk about the Rio Pongo. And one day I saw, every time he saw me, he said, okay, Paul, I'm sorry, I don't have all my documents anymore. I just sent to one professor and to someone and another museum. If I would give you everything. I said, that's okay, you are helping me already every time I talk to him. And he said, okay, I'm gonna show you a website where you can go and get some information. So I went there, bunch of articles. I'm saying, I can't get all this. So I was seeing everything. Rio Pongo, get it. Rio Pongo, get it, read it, and put it together. And after I said, hold on. I saw one of articles talking about another town. I was so curious. I read that, and oh, I'm making mistake. Because if you talk only, it's like you won't talk about the human body. You talk about the head. So you have to talk about the thing, the whole thing, how people can understand. So that's why I said, okay, if I have to write, at that time, I wasn't thinking about book. I was just trying to know everything, if I can make a documentary and a video, because that's the thing I was doing. And when he gave me all explanation, I said, there's places I have to know. So I took a plane, went back to Guinea, go to different places with all information Bruce Mauser gave to me. So I could come sometime. I was going to town, I saw a river, I saw something. I said, wow. He never been to Guinea, but he was getting maps and he has his own maps. So he can tell you, like you leaving Wabasha to Red Wing, every town, every stop, he go to every town. Said, this guy is really amazing. So I went there, took videos and come back. So my first thing was, I think many people don't know about the story in Guinea. So I'm gonna put that on Facebook. So I did an article. It went viral. People will share everything. Oh, come on. They felt slavery toward the colonization when the French people was there. But Atlantic slave trade, Many people don't know that. So for 3 years, people were asking, every time I read something, I'll put it together. And one time, I said, Paul, you know, we're going to lose all this. I said, yeah, write a book. I said, okay, I'm going to write a book, but I don't want to talk only Rio Pongo. I'm going to say how things started before Rio Pongo. And that time, I sent an email to Bruce Mouse. Usually he can answer, I can call, I couldn't get off him. I said, now I'm stuck. I went that the website showed me no website. I said, if I have to write a book, now I have some pieces missing. And a few months later, I got an email from Bruce Mouse's wife. He said, Paul, sorry, Bruce passed away, but he sent a document to one of his friends in Toronto. His name is Paul Lovejoy. He's on the line listening a presentation. So I contacted him. He said, Paul, what do you need? I said, I want to write a book, but I don't have it. He said, yeah, the website you are seeing, our website is just crashed. And I have a lot of documents with a mouse where I gave it to a university, but I can put you a link with my Google Drive so you can get all the information you need to finish your book. So that's why I read that book. You have in French part enough. It's a slave trade in the Rio Pongo. It's an Amazon. I ordered some to have it here. It didn't come on time. So you can order that whole thing. So how the slave trade started in Guinea. We have an island, it's called Ile de Los. So it was big companies, England companies, they came there, so they could go buy slaves, buy all other things, and send to America, to England. And after some young people working for them decided to open their own factory, their own business for selling slaves. So that's how things start. So I'm going to talk only Rio Pongo around 18th. So the first one who had a big factory, his name is John Ormond Sr. He's from England. So what he was doing, he came see a chief. He said, okay, I want to have a place where I can do my business. So they call that factory. So the chief gave him a land. He said, okay, this land is here. This is where you're going to do your business. But don't talk about politics. You don't have to get in politics. You just do business. So what the trader going to do? He's going to, first of all, build his house where he's going to stay. And he's going to do business. Most of slaves come from, there was empire. It's a Futa Jalo empire. So anytime we go for war, anytime they cut slaves, they bring slaves in the border to sell to the trader. So what the trader does, the second thing, he hires people, give him a weapon to protect his factory. So people can call that militia, can call group army. So at the end, he has his militia more powerful than the army of the chief, where he is. The second thing, he went to marry one of the daughter of the chief. And more he gets financially richer, he's gonna get more wives or more girlfriends. Some has a harem, someone has like 22 girlfriends. So he has that, and he's working. You have the trader. He has a place for when they bring slaves. You know, empire, they came with that convoy. But people following them, you have to, have somewhere where they're gonna eat. You have to take care of them. If you don't do that, the next time they're gonna go to another trader. So that's the first part. So you have the traders, you have empire, donc Futa Jalon, and the three elements what is the captain, the boat captain coming with a crew from America, for instance, to buy slaves and bring them. So those crew members, time is a very, very, it's a life-threatening thing. Why? Because on the raining season, if they stay there on the rainy season, there is a lot of disease, malaria, or that thing, so some people can die. So they have to buy slaves and leave before that time. The second thing, when you have a very windy time on the sea, so they have to avoid that period. So for them, they have to come quick, buy slaves, fill up the boat, and go back. So you have a lot of boats line. So John Ormond Sr. gonna say, okay, you know what? When you come in other places, you can stay 1 month, 2 months, 3 months before you fill up your slave boats and go. I can give you, you bring your boat in 1 month, I can fill up your bill, your boat. You say, what? Okay. Why? Because when you have caravan coming from Fouta Djallon, it may take time. What he was doing, he was taking his militia, go in the villages, kidnap people, fill up the boat and go. So other chief was complaining, say, oh, your stranger is doing this. But he was so powerful to the chief couldn't do anything. So Beto, you have a captain boat, you have a Fouta Djallon bringing slaves, you have a trader doing that business. In 1982, 88, that time, you have a missionary who decided to come in Rio Pongo to teach, to talk about, to convert people. And that time they said the language in the place was Susu. They said, we cannot come teach in Susu and we can have people to deal with. So when they came, they said, okay, a chief, a son of or a kid of a chief won't pay the school, but the other people are going to pay. But they don't have money to pay the school. Who can pay the school? Traders. Because traders, they send their kids in Europe, in America. But they said, okay, you know what? If you want a school here, we can send our kids, but teach in English. English is a commercial language. And we want our kids to learn English. So the missionary did have choice. Oh, okay. So they said, okay, they start doing classes in English. And that missionaries was like a reporter. Anything was going on, they were writing down. That's why all the document was in England. That's why Mauser went there to have that. So most of time, most of documentary from missionary. And after, in 1807, in England, in 1808, England and America decided not to bring slaves anymore, but people was, bringing. So they asked it didn't work 1 year, 2 years, and they asked England, okay, send a warship to see any boat transporting slaves to capture them, to free the slaves. That's gonna be the next step. So the governor of Sierra Leone will say to the troop, okay, you don't need to stay in international waters, go in the Rio Pongo. That was against the law, but they did it. So for years, England was tracking all boats coming there. So the trader was saying, every time there's a boat here, we see a warship coming here. So who's telling, we have spy here? Oh, okay, it's a missionary. So they start tracking missionary until the missionary left in 1817. So you have that, the whole story. That's why I put my book, the interconnection. So that's the first generation. The second generation, John Ormond has a son, John Ormond Jr. He went to study in England, and when his dad died, he was so awful. People came, they burned his factory. So when he came back, 5 years later, his mom was African, the chief daughter of Banglan. His mom said, okay, come here, open a factory in my dad's land. So he came, open a factory in the places where his grandpa was chief. So when his grandpa died, his mom helped him to be chief. So you have the second generation. They are traders, they have financial power, they have military power, and now they have political power. So those people was getting married, among them, among African people. So that's all the story about Rio Pongo I was talking about. So now I'm going to show you the first video I made with Bruce Mauser. And when they brought slaves in South Carolina, that's how you have that Gula Gitchi, people of Gula Gitchi. So I met a guy from Gula Gitchi promoting, and he talked that. So we're gonna that first video is 23 minutes. Can we play now? Okay. I think it's okay. You're understanding. I can. If you don't understand, just lift your hand.
The slave trade in the Pongo in the late development, it wasn't of the same age as the slave trade in Nigeria or the Congo. Those were earlier. You have the Europeans trade come in as traders. They do what comes natural. They have girlfriends to start with. And they have a country marriage, and they have kids. So what we had by the time the Pongo was involved was individual traders, not big companies, who came to the coast, and then they made agreements with local headmen on the coast, village headmen, and they set up an arrangement. It was called the landlord's. They wanted to establish a factory or a trade post. There would be a meeting at Antigua, and at that meeting they would agree on a payment, a rent. You'd say rent in the West, but it was really tribute as far as the Africans were concerned. And then they would agree on how much territory this European could walk around in. They didn't want to just have free range. The agreement included all kinds of rules of trade, how much taxes to pay, and always there was a kind of an end to it. And the end of the agreement was the headman wanted a piece of the trade. And he got it by giving this white man either a slave or a daughter, or what better way to maintain control of the trader's warehouse than to put your daughter in his house. And so we begin to get those families. So we get a fusion of families. But it wasn't just one headman to do that. So if someone was powerful, if the trader was powerful, maybe 3 or 4 headmen would give him daughters. So we ended up with many daughters to take care of, wives, and lots of kids. I see Styles as someone who took advantage of an opportunity in Africa. He went there. He was a captain. He continued for many years to carry slaves back and forth across the Atlantic. He wasn't interested in staying in Africa forever. I don't think so. I think he needed a partner in Africa And in Africa, the daughter of Gomez, Rio Gomez, down in Bakia, on the Little Pongo. And she was not married. And we all know in Africa, an unmarried woman is worthless. So she needed to find some partner too. And I think these two people came together and partnered in a business. Now they have kids, they had children. You got several Pongos. You've got the area around Kising. And Dominguez is on the end of that, just on the edge. But the Kising thing, that's one piece. Then you have Bakia, and then you have Bangong. But those are the big three pieces. And the history of the slave trade is played out in those three pieces, just repeatedly. You know, they fought wars. Literally fought wars with each other. Not just the headmen, but the traders.
Oh, day, yonder come day. Oh, day, yonder come day. Oh, day, yonder come day. Day done come in my soul. Yonder come day. And what I demonstrated to the rhythm were the different work activities. Rowing the boats, or hauling in a cache, or weeding, or digging holes in the fields, or even dropping seeds. Everyone would work together at the same time. That was one of the reasons that these songs were sung going back to West African heritage. Anyway, to go to St. Helena Island, South Carolina, which is in Beaufort County, and I reside in Georgetown, South Carolina. The coastal communities of South Carolina, well, all the way from Wilmington, North Carolina, down throughout South Carolina and Georgia, all the way down to St. Augustine, Florida, as of 2006, was designated by federal law as the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. I am Gullah Geechee, and Gullah Geechee people are descendants of primarily West Africans who were brought to this country for the production of the cash crops of cotton, indigo, and rice. There are also other cash crops, tobacco, but in this community of Georgetown, rice became king during the 1700s because of the skills and knowledge of West Africans from the rice coast countries. There were about 45,000 acres of rice fields, and in the 1700s, half of this country's rice was produced right here. I work at Brook Green Gardens, located in Murrells Inlet, which is about halfway between the city of Georgetown and Myrtle Beach. And Brook Green Gardens was established on 4 abandoned rice plantations. It was bought in they were bought in 1931. So on the grounds of Brook Green Gardens, the heritage of Gullah Geechee and enslaved Africans is there on the grounds, and that's very important to me, working there. Lots of times in different communities along the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, places that formerly were plantations. When you are there, you begin to feel a sense of being dispossessed, as though you should not be here. Like things went on there, but when that there's still a sense of hurt or turmoil. Gullah Geechee as a language, well, it began during the slave era, when numerous Africans were brought together for the very first time in the slave holding stations and in the slave prisons, and then afterwards on the slave ships. They came together speaking many different languages and dialects from numerous African countries, and they had to forge a way of communicating in which everyone would be able to understand what the other was saying. This involved the creolization of languages. Not only were these African peoples introduced to the languages and dialects of other Africans, but also they were introduced to the languages of their captors, the British, the Portuguese, the Scottish, the Irish, even the French. For years in history books, it was stated that people who spoke Gullah Geechee, which was considered bad English, broken English, substandard English, that those who spoke it did so because of thick lips or big tongues or low intelligence, as a way of saying that because of African heritage, they could not speak English properly. But during the 1930s, the first African-American linguist in this country, Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner, wrote a book, Africanism in the Gullah Dialect. He published a book of his research where he found from interviewing numerous people on the Sea Island communities that many of the words spoken were not English words. These were words that had their roots in West African languages, such as Kuda. Kuda comes from an African language meaning turtle, like the word gumbo, which in one African language, I'm not sure from which language, means okra, the plant. And in the rice fields, because the waterways were so sticky and slimy, like pluff mud, where you could sometimes sink down to your knees or sink down to your waist, Africans call that water gumbo, like the gumbo stew. In many of the rice plantations, the work system, unlike the work system for cotton, indigo, or tobacco plantations, the work systems primarily on rice plantations was the task system, T-A-S-K. And every morning, each enslaved worker, young or old, male and female, received a task, a job assignment, about 10 to 12 hours of difficult labor that should be accomplished on about an acre or some percentage of an acre of land. Under the, the very old, the elderly, or the young could receive a half task, 5 to 6 hours of labor, or a quarter task, 2 to 3 hours of labor. But under the task system, once the job was completed, the enslaved workers were free to return to slave village. And it was at that time that they were able to hold on to different continuities from their African past. Under the gang labor work system on numerous other plantations growing other cash crops, enslaved workers worked from sun up until sundown, 6 days a week. These were very difficult labor, and it was a horrific living situations in which these Africans found themselves in the New World. A carryover of West African heritage includes the singing that was done in the fields and on the waterways. And because of this singing, history books used to assert that the Africans sang because they were happy with their lives being enslaved and burdened. But that was not the case. They would go back to their West African heritage. A lot of the songs in Gullah Geechee culture were called coded message songs. They included words that other Africans might know the meanings of, but sometimes the white listeners, the overseers, the plantation owners, weren't aware of the messages that were being spread. A very familiar song was a song that would be sung when the workers would try to escape, to find their way to freedom. When enslaved Africans would attempt to escape, bloodhounds would be sent on their tracks. They would go back to the cabins where these individuals had lived. They'd find their clothing or their belongings so that the bloodhounds would have a scent, and they would begin tracking them. And those left on the plantations might begin singing a song to let those freedom seekers know what they needed to do so that those bloodhounds would not be able to continue tracking them. They were told to wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, 'cause gonna trouble the water. Another song from my childhood was generally sung around Christmas time, and I always wondered because the words were, "The people keep a coming, but the train done gone," and it was about the birth of the Christ child, and I wondered, now, there truly was no locomotive in Bethlehem, as recorded in the Bible some thousands of years ago. One of the verses was, "Mary had a baby, hey Lord, Mary had a baby, hey my Lord, Mary had a baby, hey Lord, the people keep a coming, but the train done gone." The train, however, was not a locomotive. That was a reference, a coded message referring to the Underground Railroad, that system of secret escape routes leading from places of freedom, primarily in the South, to places of slavery in the South, to places of freedom in the North or elsewhere. The train done gone. That song would be sung to let those who were finding their way to freedom or attempting, that plans had been changed, that where they were supposed to meet, they should not gather there anymore, and that opportunity had been aborted, and they should wait until they heard plans for another one. For years, Gullah, or Geechee, or as we've begun to self-identify, Gullah Geechee people were very ashamed of those words, of being identified as such. It was thought that any connection with Africa was something that people should move away from in order to be successful in this land. But in the last 20 or 30 years, there has been a rise in understanding of what the culture is and the importance of it. The awareness that the Africans who were brought to this country for the production of rice were brought because of their extreme skills and knowledge in rice production, and that being a part of African heritage meant that the heritage of Gullah Geechee people did not begin in the institution of slavery, of something that we passed through. And we have values. There are aspects of our cultural heritage that are worthy of holding on to. And so in order to preserve the heritage, there must be an acceptance of and a willingness to hold on to that heritage. And that is being done, as you said, there are different organizations that in which people are told the importance of holding on to their land or holding on to those values that they have. My wife and I have recently produced it's called Gullah Geechee Wisdom Cards, and these are like spirit cards that in which 7 values of Gullah Geechee people are identified: respect for elders, tenacity, self-sufficiency, family and community, creativity, spirituality. Those are some of those values that we want people to be aware of. And with using those cards, people can know how those particular aspects of culture, which are the same for numerous other cultures, how they are important to people of Gullah Geechee heritage. Message to Africans from people of Gullah Geechee culture is appreciation, thank, and gratitude for the repository of values that have been passed on to us by our African ancestors, and the awareness of that there is an understanding that there needs to be a connection with our past, and also to be able to show on the other side of the ocean, in those cultures, what some of those commonalities still remain in the language, for instance, in the language, in the foodways, in the spirituality, and in some of the beliefs and customs, that they're still very much intact, and that they are more so intact among people of Gullah Geechee culture and heritage who live in those coastal communities in the southeastern United States, more so than the African Americans who live elsewhere in this country. And the DNA testing documented that my paternal lineage is from Ghana.
Okay, the end one, it was, we had a project to put this like a museum. So that's what I'm saying. So you see, that's was people helped me to have that book. And there's another story about slave revolt who stayed for 10 years. So that's in the book. Now, the next story I want to tell you that very quick. The only story is not from Mauser or Paul Lovejoy. It was an event in Paris, in England. It was a concert in Paris, in England. We were doing same time. It was for the anniversary for 200 years, abolition of slavery, 200 years. And there is a lady in France who used to read my post on Facebook. So she called me. She said, Paul, what are you doing in Guinea? Because we are doing things in Paris, in England, about Joseph Anthony Emidi. I'm like, what? I don't know. So that was fancy. Who is Joseph Anthony Emidi? So after she gave me some information, so Joseph Anthony Emidi, he was 12 when they kidnapped him in Rio Nunez. Rio Nunez is north of Rio Pongo. So when they took him, that was a Portuguese boat, they brought him to Brazil. When he went to Brazil, his master gave him a violin. So he started playing, he was good on violin. After his master went in Portugal, Lisbon. So he was playing so good, they took him Philharmonic Lisbon, second violin. So he was doing good, and one day a boat, England boat, it was wartime, they have some problem, they came to fix the boat. So the crew said, oh, let's go on the Orchestre Philharmonic, we're going to see they are playing at a nice concert. So when they went there, they saw him playing so good, they said, oh, they had a plan for him. So the day, like we're leaving next day, at night, they went to kidnap him, put in a boat and leave. So he can be playing in a boat with all that military. So for 4 years, he was in the boat, they didn't let him go. So after 4 years, the service done, they took him to England. They let him through in town. So he was playing in the street.
No, wait, he was only 12?
No, after he left, they kidnapped him at 12.
Okay.
And after he grew up in Brazil, and after he was like in the 20s, 30s when he was on the
Philharmonic.
Philharmonic. And after when they let him in England, so he was playing, teaching kids how to play, just to earn some money. And he met a girl, Jane. So he married that girl. They went to Truro in England. And he was so good, he put together an Philharmonic orchestra. Became very famous, playing, but now people don't see every music event. Maybe someone just put his name on that. And one day there was a play in England. They invited him. He was so good, but people say, but we don't want to black people in orchestra here. He can stay where he is. So he was there. He died at 60. He was 60. And all his generation, they are musicians. So one of his grandson, his namesake, so George Emidi, he was playing on a circus in England. So they came to the United States to do a tour. He was so successful, he stayed in the United States. So his generation, I found one of his descendants who is in Connecticut, he's a musician too. So we connect, I said, okay, can you come with me in Guinea, play in a place where your ancestor was kidnapped? So he said, okay with me, we are trying to find the airline ticket. So after I said, hold on, before we go, I'm gonna try to have a historian of music. So I said, I'm gonna find someone who can do music, find a friend of mine who can sing. And I had a friend in Tahiti when I went there. He's a musician. He knows how to put together. So I saw him on Facebook. I'm like, oh. So I called him on Messenger. This after a long time. I have a story. I tell him a story. He said, okay, send me the story. I send him a story. And I have a writing. And I said, I want the music that way. We have one of Guinean music, really good at that time. I said, okay, you can play something similar. I said, I'm waiting for the music and I can find someone to sing. So I said, okay, Paul, I'm going to do something. So I was expecting like a week or something like that. 4 hours later, I got a message. I'm like, okay, maybe he wants some information. I didn't know he can sing. So he sings the story. So we have the music. I'm like, wow. I said, okay, let's do a music video. He said, oh, Paul, find something because no, I'm too old to be in a video. So I put some video from country and EI. So I made that video. That's the story I'm going to play for you. That's a sort of a music he made for us. You can play that, yeah. So all those 2 videos are on the YouTube. So I can give to you, you can find them.
Joseph Antonio est là où le soleil bénit. 12 ans, on l'arrache, le monde devient lui. Brésil en destination, chaîne sur la mémoire. Mais une grande vibre et rallume l'espoir. Son maître lui met un violon entre les mains. Comme si la lumière avait trouvé son chemin. Puis Portugal, Lisbonne, il grandit dans le son. Second violon, philharmonique, Le destin dit non. Et quand tout s'écroule, je tiens la note. Quand on me dérobe, je deviens l'écho. Il m'enferme, j'ouvre les portes. Dans chaque couleur, je cache un drapeau. Easy, violon dans la mer, cœur qui survit. Même en prison, la musique choisit de Guinée au Brésil, de Lisbonne au tempête. 4 ans sur un bateau, mais mon âme est restée debout, honnête. Joue ma liberté, même si le monde m'oublie. Un jour, des marins anglais, la ville s'éteint. Kidnappé dans la brume, loin des miens, loin du matin. Prisonnier sur le pont, sans sortir, sans décor. 4 années, le violon comme unique dehors. Je jouais pour respirer, je jouais pour ne pas tomber. Chaque nuit, une prière, chaque corde, une clé. 17 de fils restent en moi, l'on me laisse sur la terre, alors j'enseigne la musique pour réparer la guerre. Et dans les yeux des élèves, je vois revenir le jour. Sans qu'au soin de Jane, elle devient mon amour. On m'a tout pris, sauf ma voix. Et ma voix, c'est mon voix. Violon dans la mer, cœur qui sévit. Même en prison, la musique choisit de Guinée au Brésil, de Lisbonne au tempête. 4 ans sur un bateau, mais mon âme est restée debout, honnête. Joue ma liberté, même si le monde m'oublie. 18 instruments, 8 enfants, une maison. Ils font de l'orchestre, ils redonnent un nom à son nom. Ils composent des merveilles qu'on ne retrouve pas, comme des étoiles perdues, mais gravées en toi. 18 ans, 16, ils éteignent 60 ans dans le vent, mais la musique traverse le sang, traverse le temps. Génération après génération, le feu continue, et la scène se rallume quand la mémoire vacille. Sa chambre revient au rivage d'origine, là où l'ancêtre embarqua, il joue pour qu'on imagine. Le violon dit, je suis là, et la mer répond, Amen.
Okay, that's it. So, thank you. So we have another musician working on this on the Susu version, so people can know all the story and thing. So that's my book about. So I have French part and English part. So that's the story about slave trade I put together, and Paul Lovejoy, all the PV helped me. And before I come to question, we should introduce the word.
Those awards?
Yeah.
Sure. So these people are going, well, not this one is the man who died, right?
Yeah. So this is the award I was giving to Bruce Mauser for everything he did for me. So his wife or daughter was supposed to be here, so they couldn't. So I'm gonna take a picture, but we send them by post office. So just to everything to recognize, and even the country, we want to do something for them. It was election, we didn't do, but we want to present him and present his wife that he did a huge work and that helping the country. So that's for Bruce Mauser.
This gentleman is on, right?
Okay, yeah, this is for Paul Lovejoy. So he's watching because we have that at Toronto, York University. Paul, that's your award. Thank you for everything you did for me. Without your help, I couldn't finish the book. Thank you very much. I will send you by email. By post, yeah, post office, yeah.
Well,
He's talking back.
Yeah, you want to say something?
oh yeah, I'm very pleased, Paul, to be part of this. And can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Yeah, can you hear me? I hope. Anyway,
Oh, barely.
you
Okay,
can't
talk
hear
now.
me.
Okay.
Now we can,
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that I'm very pleased to be involved and to have known Bruce. He was an amazing researcher, an amazing individual, an amazing person, a wonderful colleague, a very good friend. And when it came a time that I was continuing to put together documentation on African history, is when we discussed what was he going to do with his papers, because I was very concerned. I wanted to make sure that they were all digitized. They almost all are. You've had access to what I've done, but the very large maps have not been done. You haven't used those yet. So there's more work here, of course. The problem with the big maps is that the scanning is more complicated, and I don't have the funds anymore to get that kind of work done. We can do small scanning, but we can't scan the beautiful big maps that he collected, and there's some other materials too that are just simply were too large for our machines to deal with. And so it's only a question of a little bit of money that we could do and get this done professionally. I mean, it's got to be done properly on proper machines, on proper equipment, which we don't have. And you're going to love it. And the whole point, as you know, is to make this material accessible. And that's what Bruce wanted too. Bruce did not want to have all of his precious work just disappear. No. It's the beginning. And he knew that. That's what he was committed to. I love him. He was a brother. And Paul, thank you.
Everybody. So Paul Lovejoy, he's a professor emeritus. He just retired. And organization UNESCO, they had a project in Africa. He was the one working there. And his team was digitalizing documents from Sierra Leone. So I was lucky to work with a big, great historian. Okay, now if we have some questions, thank you very much. Okay.
Paul, if I could maybe interrupt just a little bit and also thank everyone for being here. Certainly.
Yeah, you can go. Sorry.
Thank you as well, Paul, for all of the work that you did for this. And to Paul Lovejoy, I believe that my father felt the same about you. Absolutely adored you as a colleague. I grew up with your name in my household, even though you and I have not ever actually met. I agree. If there is some way to digitize the work that he did that is not yet digitized, my dad very much at the end of his career was fascinated and so excited by how much was actually available online. And so his commitment to digitizing all of the research that he had done so that it could be more broadly available, I think is absolutely a value he held. He spent so much of his life uncovering lost histories. The last thing he would want is for his own research to now be covered because it wasn't widely available.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for this event. Really appreciate it.
And like I said, I'm not a historian. Without his work, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a book around. And many people like everything. Many people like that in Guinea. So there's a why they didn't teach this to us. We didn't know. So your dad's work is very, very valued in Guinea. That's why Guinea will do something. But for me personally, I had to do something to show him, even he's not here, show project to all my recognition. He was nice to me. He was always able for me. So that's why I just know, and I'm really happy. So I couldn't, every time I go, everywhere I'm presenting the book, I talk about him first. Thank you very much.
Okay, now if
Paul,
I'm happy.
Paul,
Yeah.
if I could just do if I could give a very brief update on Bruce's materials.
Okay.
And their status and their availability, because there have been developments. I have donated my personal library to the University of the Gambia, and I've also digitized the whole collection, and that includes all of the archival material and all of Bruce's material into a database. At this point in time, it's about 2.6 terabytes of data, and it's going to be used in connection with UNESCO's initiatives in Ghana to start to make accessible important resources for understanding and doing African history, so that they're available at African universities in Africa. And so on this material, on the one hand, including all of Bruce's material, will be at the University of the Gambia. But as soon as we can make any kind of arrangements in Guinea, and of course, they will be available in Sierra Leone now because of what the work we've been doing there. And of course, they have to be available everywhere. And so that's what we're working on now. And that Bruce would be very pleased with this, I know.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you very much. So we have some questions there. Thank you, Paul.
Do you want? I can give you my.
I'm pretty loud. I just read Derek Kluge's Zora Neale Hurston's interview with what is believed to be one of the last living enslaved persons that came in the late stage. And it's exactly the story you told. I mean, the first chapter is you wrote it. You just narrated it. I wondered if that came up in Professor Mauser's conversation. Her book was written, I just looked up, in 1931.
Okay.
She refused to change the dialect of the interviews.
Okay.
So the publisher wouldn't publish it until 2018. Yeah. So obviously all of Professor Mauser's work was done by 2018. But I was curious if there was any interplay between her work and his, because I mean it's as if you just read from her book. What's incredible? Zora Neale Hurston. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I heard about the book. What I did when I was writing mine, I just stayed concentrated for all documents from Mauser.
Right.
Because when I was seeing on the internet, there's some Guinean people wrote some story where I'm not true. So I was saying, I don't want to make a mistake. I'm going to say someone I know is really, that was one of them. And the other thing I talked about, the first journalist, when I contacted him, they had a project in Guinea. They financed the Guinea. I think some people didn't put, it was like some fraud. So that's why when we talk, after he Googled my name, that time it was like Paul Théa, journalist. He thought I was doing an investigation. That's why Mazo told me, oh, this thing happened. I said, I'm not surprised he won't call you, and he never called me. So I understood that later. So that's why I didn't work with him. So we had, there even in my country, talking about stylists, like that one lady well known. Some people say in the country, she was a queen. She was this way. She wasn't a queen. She was just a slave trader. So that's why I was saying, now I'm seeing the difference. So I'm going to work with all the material they have, so I can be there, I'm safe. Only, you see, like Joseph Antonio, I was sure I have a friend. If you see the saxo, his descendant play saxophone too. So that's why we put saxo at the end. You see the image is like going back, they're going to welcome me and play. So I'm trying to be safe where I'm putting my feet to make sure I'm transmitting the right information.
Well, when people read your book, they should read your conclusion.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I went to the plant woman told the story.
Exactly.
From her perspective, like the artist did in the one.
Exactly.
And then she recommended the book, and it's like, oh, we should see this.
Exactly. It's a good to read because you have a lot of stories coming out. People are putting down. It's really good to have all of them. And the other thing I'm doing now, I'm not saying only slave they brought here, but when they brought here, what happens? So I'm putting all those connections together. That's why my next book is bringing together and putting that when they came here, how they did that with the connection. Like a stylist, those was not only doing Rio Pongo, they were going some other places. And in Guinea, there are a lot of places where they brought a lot of slaves and we don't even know. Now things are coming out. They say, okay, do you want this document? It's here, this librarian. Like this, he told me which university he sent the document. I called them. They say, yeah, we just received it. It will take time. He said, okay, before it take time, I can put you with my Google Drive so you can get the information you need. That's why I was able to finish the book. Okay, another question. And just to let you know, we brought some little snacks, some little things to drink. So after, we can little socialize. We don't know how many people are coming, but we have that. And I can thank you. I'm really, really, I was surprised to see so many people talking about Africa, and when you put that together, I want, thanks to, the library, all the personnel, they are a lot of nice to me. You see, the first time when the book was out, it was an editor in Guinea. So he made some mistakes. So when I was going France, we need something, how to correct that. So how to come library here, work a lot, and we go fit to fix other things. So every time I'm here, they are really nice to me. So when I talk about book, so this is my first presentation in the United States. Yeah, so that's my first presentation. So I was saying, okay, how to work on my pronunciation. On the June 10th, I'm invited to present the book at Penn Center at South Carolina. So Penn Center, for people who don't know, after the end of slavery, that was one of the first places they had a school for slaves to go to learn how to read, write, all that thing. It was a Penn school, and now it's a Penn Center. And that Penn Center, that's where Martin Luther King Jr. wrote his speech, I Have a Dream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he used to go that way. There is an office there where it's a muscle part, that's why he went. So when the director invited me, I said, when I was supposed to go there before my trip in France, and after a while I said, Paul, come to June 19th. That's the Juneteenth, because the celebration of France, so I'm invited to be there. So I'm working that I'll be there to the Penn Center. So that's a really big thing. So I will say already that my first conference in the United States was in Wabasha Library. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we can.
And we can take some pictures. You don't have to, yeah,
Yeah,
take
I'll
some
take one
pictures.
with
Have
here.
some
I'll take some with you.